Hello, everyone, and welcome to your final course in your MBA program, Business 671, where you have just completed your Business 670, where you learned a lot about strategy and the theory behind strategy. Now we're going to be taking it one step further and applying what you have learned in the development of a very significant case analysis. I'm Dr. Doug Ward. I'll be your course professor for this particular session. And at any time, if you have any questions or anything is unclear, or if you need assistance, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. The best way to contact me will be on my cell phone and my UMO email, and all that is listed in the Moodle shell. But as you're developing your case analysis, you should consider me as part of your team and allow me to leverage to help you to have a successful outcome in this particular course. So what I'd like to do is just give you an introductory with reference to what you can expect in your final capstone course, and a few tips. Certainly you want to make sure that you do some work each and every day in this course, because you'll find that it will be a little aggressive, a lot of things to get done. So waiting till the weekend simply is not going to be a very good option nor outcome, as you'll be working in teams, and your teams are going to be dependent upon each other, and you're certainly going to want to be making team assignments, as well as having team strategy meetings. And we'll talk about a little more of that here momentarily. But this course really is about the practice of strategic management. It's how managers can use a tangible tool in forming and program and projects that will implement strategies, and certainly developing strategies of how they're going to respond to the ever-changing environment in which we find ourselves today. The global economy and the utilization of technology certainly has changed the foundations of business and requires managers to be more adapt today than ever before. So in this particular class, we're going to be looking at how can we anticipate and prepare for some of these changes, and looking at the organizational design and see if the organizational structure is really supportive of the changes that some companies are going to be facing in this ever-changing environment, and certainly helping them build the competencies necessary to implement strategy effectively. Now, in our course, we're really going to cover chapters 4, 11, and 12, which is the implementation side of our textbook. We're still using the same textbooks, and you're going to be selecting a corporation where you will select and analyze, and as a team of 3 to 5 team members, depending on the number of students enrolled in our course, will develop that project and present that project to everyone else within the class. So this is the second part of the first part. The first part was the Business 670, again, which you just got through with, which was looking at the theory behind strategic management. Now the successor to that is the Business 671, where we're really going to be focusing on the implementation side of that and how we would go about doing that. And we'll be doing that again through actually analyzing a corporation. So it's going to look at the managerial task of crafting and implementing that strategy. It's going to be hopefully using a tool that you'll be able to put in your management toolbox to aid you as you continue your current career, but equally important as you make yourself more marketable by the practice of strategic management. And one of the outcomes we would like to see is that you're going to sharpen your ability to think a little bit different than what maybe you have thought about before in strategic management, and thinking about the skills of strategic planning and assessment. So this course, again, is we're going to be practicing what you learned from 670 or building upon what you learned in Business 670 by the application and the sharpening of your skills as we integrate your knowledge. And integrating that knowledge, you're going to be doing a actual practice where we're going to be making strategy happening. We're going to be looking at a corporation and determining in that corporation how that corporation is currently and what they can do moving forward. So through the strategy implementation methods and procedures, we'll be looking at an operational tactics needed for that corporation. You're going to be looking at the corporate governance or the board of directors. What is their responsibility? And at the end of the day, it's just simply doing the right things. You're going to be doing that guided practice where you're going to actually be conducting a strategic assessment where we can see here you'll be gathering that evidence, that stuff, that external environment that pushes in on our business, and what are some of the internal capabilities of that particular corporation. Looking at their mission, goals, and strategic objectives, formulating some strategies based on your knowledge and what you've learned to this point throughout your entire MBA program, and identifying some implementation priorities for that particular organization. And again, your strategies and your implementation priorities is going to be based on what you have learned on this particular research for this project, but equally important as you integrate your knowledge throughout the entire MBA program. And I'll be here to help guide you in that direction as well. And as we think about formulating these strategies, when you think about the global economy in which we operate in today, what are some of the external and internal factors that may influence a company? Well, certainly the political environment in which a company finds itself in, the lack of or the abundance of natural resources. What's the economics? What's going on economically, not only in their domestic market, but international market? And that economics certainly is going to include inflation, interest rates, tax rates, labor availability, unemployment rates, poverty rates, things of that nature. What's the social culture beliefs of that particular market? Is labor readily available? Are they skilled? What's the infrastructure? Do they have good infrastructure like airways and railways and highways and seaports? How's their electrical grid? How's that particular location of that market, how's it doing from a standpoint of technology and the utilization of technology? And certainly how favorable is government to that particular business? So that just kind of gives you some of the things that you're going to be touching in on as well. And certainly contingency planning as we consider how the markets are changing, labor, government regulation, societal norms, the economy, just what we just talked about. All of that requires good contingency planning. And as you can imagine, at least in my view, it's a little bit different strategy to take a company and make it extremely profitable, or as it develops its distinctive competencies to overcome their competitors. It's a little bit different strategy of getting there than it is to maintain it and stay there. And a lot of companies will feel like they have arrived and get comfortable while their competitors are still digging, still learning, still changing. And this is where contingency planning comes into play, where you've got to be able to be nimble and adaptable and flexible in the ever-changing markets that we find ourselves in. So contingency planning also will be a topic that we're going to be looking at. So some of the objectives of this course: obviously acquiring some strategic management skills, putting those skills to practice by assessing a firm's competency in its competitive position, forming some goals and objectives and strategies, and selecting some methods for implementation of those priorities. And again, it's going to be based on what you have learned in your Business 670, what we will do here through actual practice, but equally important, what you have learned throughout your entire MBA program. Some of the other objectives, we're going to learn the techniques for forming some of these contingency plans, select from alternate organizational designs what some of the dynamic nature and the strategy as we plan continuously, and look at some of the hopefully strategic concerns that we may find as we're doing our research for top management. And as we look at the utilization of today's technology, certainly a lot of things that we're going to be doing, we're going to be leveraging some of this technology. Where back in the old day, everything was done by pen and paper. So you certainly didn't have the ease of which we have access to information like we have today. And what you're going to find out is that as you're doing this research, you're going to access a lot of information, and that information is going to be at your fingertips, and you'll be able to use this information hopefully to make forecasts, to make strategic plans and priorities and goals for the corporation to which you are going to be researching. So obviously the approach to this course is going to be this introductory lecture, the strategy, contingency planning. Again, we've got those 3 chapters in our textbook that we're going to be doing. You've got several mini cases that you're going to be working on in this particular course. And obviously we have some quizzes and some tests that we're going to be implementing as well. The team project. The team project really is going to be the real gist of this particular course. This is how our grade calculation is going to fall out. As you can see, the quizzes and the discussion questions and the principles really focus on about 30% of your total grade. It's the team project and the team presentation and the final exam on the cases that's going to be presented that carry the bulk of the course grade. So focusing on that project, working collectively as a team, having team meetings, setting up your team assignments with deliverables will be paramount. And everyone will have to attend the team presentation. You have to be actively involved into that team presentation in week 7 of our course. Then at the end of week 7, we will have the final exam that's going to be covering all the cases that were presented. And hopefully we're going to be recording those because probably there may be a few who their work schedules will not allow them to attend every meeting other than their own. So we kind of want to make that available as well. But the expectation is clear that you should obviously attend your team presentation and be actively involved into your team presentation, but also attend your peers, because your test questions for the final exam will come from everyone's presentation. So some of the sequence of material, obviously we have the course introduction. You have a couple of lectures that you're going to be reviewing, and the PowerPoints associated with those lectures are also posted into our course Moodle shell. We're going to be using some of Dr. Kirk Roney's videos with his permission, which we have already obtained, as he is our subject matter expert when it comes to strategy. So we're going to be using some of his information. And you may see that in some of his videos, like for instance, how to assemble a strategic case. When you go look at our case outline, you're going to see more detail in that, because his video was more of a generic approach of what you can expect to have into a case analysis. So we add a little bit more detail, but we want you to follow the outline that it offered in our Moodle shell, and it follows very closely to what you will see in the video, just a little bit more detail. And one of the first things you want to do is come together as a group and to form your teams and select your companies, and we'll do it on a first come, first served basis. And you will see some information into our course shell as far as the companies that you should want to potentially go look at. Pick your first choice and your second choice, and the first one I get will get their first choice, and so forth. And once you get those selected, then I'll know I will be providing you some value line financial information that you'll be able to use for the financial goals and the um, financial operating trends that we want you to conduct. But we'll be providing some of that information for you as well. But I need to know which company you're going to be selecting. In week 2, we're covering chapter 12. You have a quiz and a mini case. And in week 3, we have chapter 4, chapter 11, 2 quizzes, 2 mini cases, and test on materials 1 through 3, or in weeks 1 through 3, I'm sorry. And in weeks 4 through 6, this is where you're going to really start getting into the development of your work, your project, where you're going to have required meetings with me. And you have to, we're going to be using our Zoom just like you have been accustomed to already. We'll set up that meeting and we'll try to find a mutual agreeable time and date where we all can be together. But it's really a tune-up to make sure that you're on track, that the team is working, that you're pulling the information, and that I can provide some oversight for you as you continue to develop your case analysis. But there'll be 3 required meetings. And again, in week 7, when we do the presentation, that is going to be a required meeting as well. But this is some of the activities that we've kind of got set up to help levelize the workload, to give you some focused attention as you're developing that project. And then in week number 7, we're actually going to be doing the team presentation. So let me cover a few things in our course shell for you as well. So the course shell is ready. It's a standard course shell that you have seen throughout your entire MBA program. So obviously we have the Wednesday week 1 attendance. We're using the 12th edition of our textbook. We're using a graded scale, as we can see here, and you can see that how the weights of our grade, how the total grade is going to be weighted and what's going to be required for the entire course. But what I really wanted to show you is that once you select the teams and we know which teams and which company you're going to be going after, let's say that you have been assigned to do the financial trends. Well, as you look down, you're going to see obviously some other information that is going to be very beneficial to you down in week 4, 5, and 6 using the International Monetary Fund database. What are some of the analytical models, financial trends and forecasting as you're looking at some of this information. So what I'm trying to get to is this. If you're doing the financial goals, please don't hesitate to come down in some of these subsequent weeks to start looking at some of that information, because you really want to get started almost from week 1 and start doing your research. This week 4, 5, and 6 really is that team meeting with me so that we can make sure that you're on track, and if anything that we need to make some adjustments, we have time to recover. Here in the financial trends, I really want you to use this Excel spreadsheet that we've created, and this is Dollar General example, so obviously you cannot select Dollar General as one of your team projects, but when you open that up, this is what it's going to look like. And what we're going to be focusing on through value line is going to be what's their sales from 29 through 2023, what's their operating margin, the return on investment, return on equity, what are some of the financial trends of long-term debt, equity, and capital and leverage. And you will see this in another video that makes it a little more clear. But what I'm trying to show here is that if you focus on putting in the numbers, it should automatically create these graphs for you that you're going to be needing to include into your project. And also this table of goals, this information here that's in yellow is automatically calculated for you as well. And this is the same information that is being entered into the financial trends. In fact, it points back to the financial trends worksheet, cell address K4. So you don't have to do anything here other than do your work here, and it should auto-populate here. However, always verify that everything transfers the way it should. And in 2021 and 2022, what we have here is that we did the calculations over here in red, and these values in column N and O are coming from over here. But you'll see another video associated with this. But once I know the company that you're working for, then we'll get you the value line information, and there'll be another video with reference to this particular spreadsheet. So that kind of gives you a broad brush of what we're going to be accomplishing in your Business 671 Strategic Management course, your capstone course. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to working with you and successful outcomes of this particular course, and look forward to a successful completion. Thank you so much.